Okay, hello everyone. I want to welcome you, parents and guardians of our wonderful Garvey School District students, to our iReady assessment training. The focus of today's session will be to learn what iReady is and how the diagnostic works, to understand how to support your child before, during, and after taking the diagnostic assessment, to prepare and motivate students for the diagnostic, to ensure that your data is reliable. That will be a very important piece that we're going over today, and to explore resources that our families can use to support iReady use at home. But first, let me just say a couple of important things. First of all, this presentation is being recorded. It will be uploaded to the district website within the next few days so that you can revisit this information. And also we encourage you to share this information with other parents as well. Also, you may have noticed, parents, that we have automatically muted your microphones, and we're going to ask that you remain in silent mode until it's time to do our question and answer session towards the end. We do have a chat function where you can type your questions during the presentation, and we'll have a few minutes at the end to address those questions. If we do not get to your questions today, don't worry. We will save the questions in the chat, and we will address them via a frequently asked questions document on our district webpage, and we'll show you, we'll give you all of that information towards the end. You can also, as well, feel free to email your teacher with any questions or talk to the principal. We encourage that open line of communication with your school site. Okay, and now I just want to do some quick introductions. My name is Laura Solis. I'm the Director of Special Projects for the district. In our department, we have wonderful, wonderful staff. Our community service specialists, who many of you know, Stephanie Garcia and Rebecca Song, are here. Also joining us, I think, today is our Director of Testing, and that is Rosa Marquez. Rosa, are you here? Would you like to say hello? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Hello.
Yes, Stephanie.
Oh, hi. Yes, I'm Rosa Marquez, the Director of Testing and Evaluations. I take care of iReady on the teacher end, but I am here to answer any questions that our parents may have or clarify anything that they're curious about. Thank you and welcome.
Okay.
Thank you, Rosa. We also have Helena Tran from Duff Elementary School. We want to thank her for her contribution to the entire series for this particular presentation as well. So our entire learning support services team is here and ready to support you parents during this entire school year to help you navigate this new world of distance learning. And we are also very grateful and proud of our partnership with iReady. And they're a very special group of people, and they've been so helpful. We're very glad that they are bringing this information to you today. And now I'm going to hand it over to Vernita Scott from iReady.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Vernita Scott. Thank you for being with me this afternoon. I know there are a lot of questions in the chat. Can you see me? Can we hear? I actually don't have the ability right now to show my camera. I did before, but I went out and came back in. But you are in listen-only mode, so you will only be able to hear us. If Laura is sharing her camera, you'll be able to see her. But you're not able to see each other. This is a little different from Zoom. We're not able to see each other. And even when you send questions in the question box, that comes directly to one of us, Laura or myself or my friend Sue, who's also here from iReady. And so hopefully you're able to at least hear us. and definitely see the PowerPoint that's in the middle of the screen. If you see the PowerPoint in the middle of the screen, can you just type a yes in the question box so I know that people are able to view it? Okay, I see some yeses coming in, great. If you cannot hear me, or if you can't hear me, you won't hear what I'm saying, but if you're around someone that cannot hear, tons of yeses, great. If you're around someone that cannot hear, if you go to the audio button, good, the audio is good too, thank you, Edgar. If you go to the audio tab, you're able to kind of toggle between computer audio and no audio, and a lot of times that fixes the problem. If you cannot do that, you can also call in on the phone by just hitting the phone option. So I wanted to say that. All right, so we are going to get started. You are here to learn about the diagnostic that your students will be taking, starting on the 8th. And so I want to say up front, the window for your district begins on the 8th. That means students will be able to take the iReady assessment starting on the 8th. But it really depends on your school site, what time and what days they will allow students to take the assessment. So you want to check in with your school leaders, your principals, your students, teachers, and they should be sending out information to let you know exactly when students will be taking the assessment. But I want to talk to you today about what this assessment is. It's not like any other test, and we're going to find a lot about that out, a lot about it today. So you should see the agenda. Yes, I'm glad. So any questions while we're moving forward? If you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the question box. I have a few friends on the line today that are going to make sure your questions get answered. I'll also try to answer some questions out loud and in person. But if I don't answer your question right away, don't worry. People are monitoring the question box and they will get back to you as soon as they can. Okay, so we're going to talk about how the diagnostic works. We're going to talk about what iReady is, and we're going to talk about how you can best prepare your students for the iReady test or iReady assessment. So what is iReady? iReady is a comprehensive program that was created to help teachers and students know exactly what students' learning strengths are and what their areas of need are. It all begins with the diagnostic. When students take the diagnostic, there is a report that's generated. And teachers, from that report, they're able to see exactly what your student knows and what they're struggling with. Also, when they finish the diagnostic, students are given goals. They're given 2 goals that they can reach within the year. And those goals are very specific to you and your student. I'm noticing that there might be a small delay in my PowerPoint, so I'm going to take my time. And Sue or Laura, if you can just tell me if I'm moving too fast. I'm trying to talk to the PowerPoint, but I want to make sure I'm still on target. Okay. Now, after the diagnostic, not only are students given goals, but they're also put on a personalized pathway to grade level proficiency. So our program, when they take this test, it starts to identify what students can already do, and then it also identifies some gaps that they may have so that they can reach their grade level content and even pass it with advanced level. But we do this in a very strategic way by assigning students online lessons that put them on that pathway to proficiency and advanced proficiency if they're already there. And then finally, those gaps that students may have in their learning, not only will they be addressed in an online lesson, but also we provide your child's teacher with the resources that they need to teach certain lessons that also fill in those gaps. So your student will be supported based on the results from the diagnostic with specific instruction that is tailored directly for them to help them reach their grade level. So the diagnostic for iReady is what we call an adaptive assessment. And before we actually learn how this assessment works, I want to show a video, play a video for you that helps you think about how important, not only how important this assessment is, but how important it is for students to take this assessment all by themselves. Now they're going to struggle. Some of the questions might get hard, but when I explain to you how the diagnostic works, those hard questions are really a good indicator that your child might be at a higher level. And so when I talk about how this assessment adapts to find out exactly what grade level your student is performing at, you'll understand better why it's important not to help them with any answers. Right now, I want to show a video from my friend Ty, who also works with iReady. And he's going to give you a good way to kind of think about this assessment and what it means. Do you all see the video?
Yes. Oh, no.
No video yet. Okay.
Yeah, I do not see the video.
Not yet.
Did you have it?
There you go.
Hello, I'm Ty with a message from the iReady team. But first, a question. Have you ever taken a vision test? Some letters are blurry, some are crystal clear, and when the test is over, the eye doctor knows exactly what you can see and how to help you see even better. Hello, I'm Ty with a message from the iReady team. But first, a question.
Can you hear this?
Have you ever taken a vision test? Some letters are blurry, some are crystal clear.
Did you say you can't hear it?
Yeah, there's no sound.
I can hear it fine.
Oh, you can't hear it. Okay, I'm going to continue to play. Thank you, everybody.
Or, the eye doctor knows exactly what you can see and how to help you see even better. iReady is like that, but it's not checking vision. It's telling us what your child already knows and what they need to work on next in math and reading. It's a very different kind of test than you and I grew up with. With iReady, no grades are given. It's fully expected that students will get 50% of the questions wrong, which is good, because that's how teachers know what to work on with your child. iReady is normally given at school, but this year, there's no normal. Teachers are counting on us, the families, to get the same trusted results so your child's learning will stay on course, whether they're in school or at home or both. And the best way for you to help is not to help. Would you help your child with a vision test? Of course not. You'd stand back and provide no hints. It's about what your child knows, not what you know. And the great thing about this is that the test reveals that students may know more than we think. Now, there are a few things you can do. The most important being this: make sure your child takes iReady in a quiet space. The fewer distractions, the better. Other tips on how to help can be found at the link on your screen. Teachers need our help. In order for them to best support our kids, it'll take our best to get the very best of iReady.
Okay, so I got some really great questions.
Mother
Great questions
says
into the chat.
some ideas are like money in the bank, right? That's why. All right, next one. What bright idea?
Okay, I saw some really great questions come into the chat box. I just want to answer them before I move on. I just muted everyone, so you're unable to unmute yourself for a few minutes. If everybody can just make sure their microphone is off if they're not sharing out loud. But I want to address some things. So there was a question, Sammy, I want to address your question. Is it the understanding that this test is a one-size-fits-all? I'm so glad you asked that question. The answer is no. And I'm going to explain to you right now exactly how this test adapts specifically and individually for every student. It is important for you to remember this assessment is not word grade. Students are not graded in any kind of way. This really is an assessment, just like an eye test, to know exactly what your students know so that their teachers can support them the best way they can. That's it. That's all. That's what this is about. Okay, so if you have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. And I am going to let you know, we talked about the purpose of the diagnostic. It's not for a grade, it's not for a score, but I want to let you know now exactly how the diagnostic works. So I'm going to liken the diagnostic to, one of my favorite TV shows, Price is Right. It's an old show, so that kind of gives you an indicator of kind of where I'm coming from. And not Price is Right with Drew Carey, which is great, but I mean Price is Right with Bob Barker, which is even better. And back then there was a game called High Low, and people tried to win a prize based on trying to guess what the price of the prize was. And the only clues that were given were higher and lower. And they kept guessing until they finally found exactly how much the prize cost. And their answers, their responses, based on the response of higher or lower, they started giving more targeted answers to get to that prize. In a nutshell, that's kind of how iReady's assessment works. Every student begins the diagnostic with questions that are one grade level below. No students will see the same questions. And then as students begin to answer the questions correctly, the assessment adapts up to more challenging questions. And then if they start to answer incorrectly, it adapts down to less challenging, and then up and down until it finally gets an actual performance level for every student. This test or this assessment, it adapts. I know some people are concerned about whether it reads questions to students. What if my student can't read? What if they're in kindergarten? The assessment adapts to reading levels. It will read questions for certain grade levels. As students get older, there are less questions that are read, but everything they need to know to take the diagnostic is given during the diagnostic. So the tools, how to access the reading and everything. It's there. So all you really have to do to support is just make sure that your student is in a quiet place and that they have as little distractions as possible. When students take the assessment, of course, because it adapts based on their answers, they're going to get some questions that are hard. And then they're going to get some questions that are easy, but then it'll find questions that are just right. And so the hard questions are, and the easy questions, the hard and the easy questions are because the diagnostic is trying to assess how much does this student know. And so we assess skills from grades K all the way to 12. So it can adapt up a couple grade levels from your child's actual grade level. I used to frame, when I was delivering this diagnostic, I used to frame it with students by saying, if you get questions that are too hard and you've never seen before, it's okay. It means that you're probably doing very well. The test is trying to figure out exactly how much do you know. And so that is one way to support your students, just letting them know not to get frustrated because it's math or reading things that they've never seen before. But the test is really going to give them harder questions just to see how high their level actually is. The subjects are both math and reading. When students finish the diagnostic, they will receive a score. And their teacher receives a detailed report, something that looks like this, about where your student's actual performance level is. And based on this report, this is where they get the information to know where students' strengths are and where their areas of need are. So if you look at this report here, it shows not only the overall placement for this student, but even in specific strands of math and specific strands of reading, exactly where the student places. Is my screen frozen? Oh, parents can definitely request a copy of the report. You just talk to your teacher and see how your school wants to deliver it, but you can request a copy, exactly. So before the assessment, what do you need to do? You know this assessment is important. Ty explained that students aren't expected to get all of the questions right, just about 50% of them, honestly. And we will talk about how long it takes. It takes about 45 to 60 minutes, but I want to say, we do not expect your students to sit down for 45 to 60 minutes to take this assessment. In fact, a student can take this assessment in multiple parts. usually 3 or 4 times, depending on how young your child is. Those are the chunks of time that you really want to pay attention to. Your teachers have already been trained on how to deliver this. So for kindergarten and first grade, those chunks of time might look anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes, not very long at all. For older grades, it might look closer to 25, 30 minutes. And if your child is even older, like 6th, 7th grade, if they're a middle school student or an upper elementary student, they can sit down for about 30 minutes and take the assessment. They don't have to do it all at one time. And when they leave the assessment, it picks up exactly where they left off. So the things you can do to support your student are first, make sure that they know how to log into their portal. Make sure that they know how to access iReady, and then you don't have to do anything else. You don't have to assign the test, or no one has to come and program it. As soon as they know how to log into iReady, they're able to take the assessment. The first button they see says Start Assessment Now, and they get to watch a video and click the tools and move on to the assessment. This assessment is given 3 times a year. So the first time is right now at the beginning. It serves as a baseline. And then it's given mid-year, around mid-year, so we can see how much growth your student has made in math or reading. And then it's given one more time toward the end of the year. And so those windows will be made available to you from the district and your teacher. So how do you prepare for the assessment? You don't know the exact time just yet because your school will let you know that. But whenever the time is, you want to make sure that your students take the breaks that they need. Remember, if they log out of the assessment, they don't have to start over. It'll start them right where they left off. The biggest thing to do is to make sure that they have the right place to take the assessment. Somewhere quiet, somewhere with the least amount of distractions. That will be helpful. If you were trying to take an assessment that was really important, you'd want peace and quiet too. So just make sure that there's a space that they can take this assessment and be successful. And then finally, you want to make sure they have the supplies they need. They need something to write with and something to write on so that they can use it as scratch paper or take notes on whatever readings they might want to write down, some ideas. But you want to make sure they have everything they need. And another thing that's just not here, maybe you even want to let them wear headphones. If you can't find a quiet place exactly, maybe headphones will help. They can hear the test. If you plug it into their device, they can hear the test and kind of drown out other sounds that might be in the background. Those are some things to think about and pull together before students access the assessment. Be ready to answer the whys. So now that you know how to think about this test, be ready to answer questions. Why am I taking this test? You're taking this test because your teachers really need to know what you know so they can help you the best way they can. Why is it important to do my best? Well, it's important to do your best because if you do not do your best, there's no way that the data that comes back will help teachers give you targeted instruction. You want to do your best so that you can get the instruction you need so that you can grow. What is the test like? This is where you get to share what you learned today. The test is an adaptive test. So some questions will be easy, some questions will be hard, some questions will be just right. But do your best, even with the questions you don't know. Don't spend too long on one question. Answer the ones you know directly. The ones you don't know, try to work them out. And then, if you really don't know, take a guess and move on. The test will adapt and realize that you don't know, and it'll give you questions that are just right for you based on your responses. So it is meant for you to be successful. Let your students know that they don't have to get every single one right, but they should move on when they get to a challenging question and they might have to take a guess. So they're not stuck there trying to answer the same question. What if I don't know the answer? Well, we just answered this before, but it really is about trying your best and moving on. During the test, what students will see when they log in is an option to pick one of the subjects. So someone asked earlier in the question box, I don't have the question box up anymore, but they asked Are there only two subjects?
Yes.
Reading or math. And their teacher will tell them which one to do first. As soon as they select one of the subjects, it'll prompt them with this big button in the middle that says Math Diagnostic. It's the only thing that they can do. And when they select that button, they will begin the diagnostic. The first thing they'll do is watch an introductory video that tells them exactly how to start the test, what to do. It'll ask them to select buttons, and everything they need to know to be successful, all the tools that they would possibly use on the diagnostic, it's all going to come in this video and in these buttons that they have to select, this tutorial. So let them know they need to watch the video, and they need to see, click on all of the tools that they could possibly use, so that way they know how to use them when the time comes. When you are proctoring, you're not necessarily proctoring the diagnostic for students. Teachers will proctor, but you will be there to help monitor. Make sure they have everything they need, the materials they need to take the test, whatever they need to write on or write with, make sure it's available to them. If your student gets tired or frustrated, let them take a break. Remember, the test will pick up right where they left off. So you don't have to worry about, there's a little X at the top right that they can exit out the test, but even if they forget to do that and they just kind of close the laptop down, it's okay. When they go back to open up and log back into iReady, it will pick them up right where they left off. And then, most importantly, finally, make sure that the most important thing you can do to effectively monitor and prepare your student for this assessment is, under no circumstances should you help with any answers. Helping them now really hurts later because they'll get lessons that they're not ready for. They'll be hard and they'll be frustrating. You want to make sure that your student also is not rushing through the test, just not clicking any button, because then later on also what it'll mean is that they'll get lessons that might be too easy for them. So you want them to do their best. You want them to do it all by themselves so that we can get the best data we can to put them on that pathway to proficiency that's unique to them. Finally, when the assessment is over, you want to make sure that you celebrate your students. It is a feat, especially to complete this assessment. I've administered this assessment at least 80 times in my career, but never at home. So students completing this assessment at home without the structure of a classroom and the teacher right there is really a different thing. Make sure you celebrate them. I want to point out, and I'm just going to talk quickly, when they finish the assessment, they will be put on a pathway with personalized lessons. That means students won't take the same lessons because their pathways to proficiency won't be the same. They'll be able to log into a dashboard for reading or for math, and every time they log in, it'll prompt them with lessons to take that are just right for them based on the results from the diagnostic. You just want to make sure they spend time on task. Usually it is about 45 minutes per subject, and your teacher will talk more about what online lessons look like and the time they should spend. Again, that 45 minutes is not all at one time. Finally, if you need help, if you need to know where to go, we have created websites just for you families, just for you to go to, with technical support, with videos for you to watch, with guidance, with checklists of things for you to do to prepare your students before the diagnostic, during the diagnostic, and even after the diagnostic. I will put in the chat box or your question bar, I will put one website so that you can click on that link and bookmark it so you can go back to it later. But we've created an entire family center for you that you can go and see exactly what supports you need to help your student get through the diagnostic. So I'm going to put this link in, and when I put the link in, if someone would just type "got it," that way I know that everyone received it and it is a clickable link. So I'm just going to look for a couple got it in my question box. Good, thank you, Wendy. Okay, so I see people have got it. So feel free to click on that link, and when you get there, you want to bookmark it because there are wonderful things there to see, different resources we have for you as parents to go. In fact, I think I might just go there live. Hopefully my screen changes. It looks like the internet is just kind of dragging a bit. But I am on the website, and hopefully you're able to see. And on this website, you can see the video that I just showed you, right? Where all these beautiful faces are of children. That's the video that we just were able to see with Ty. But on this webpage, you also get to scroll and see other videos. This second video at the bottom, where it says what you need to know, that gives you even more information about this diagnostic, this assessment, how it works, what it does, why it's really important for students to do it on their own. It gives you a lot more detailed information. Also, if you need help, you can go to Family Resources right here. In the middle of the page, there is a link to go to different family resources. It'll take you to our Family Center. We have materials in both English and Spanish, and we're working on even more languages for people to have access. But I just wanted to go live and show you what we put in place for you. Okay, so now you know where to go. The one thing I did not show you on that website when you go to the Family Center is there's a checklist for you. So there's a lot of moving parts to make sure your student has this assessment and that it takes this assessment and they're successful. There are a lot of moving parts. But in order to help you organize some of those parts, we have given you a diagnostic checklist. So on that checklist, you get to see exactly what you need to do to get organized. You can rewatch the video that we just saw. It'll remind you, find a place, get materials together, encourage your student, talk to them about the diagnostic. And what's great about this checklist, when you go to the website, because that's where you'll find it, on the website that I put in the chat, when you go there, we've also given you phrases on how to respond. I want to share some information with you before we come to the end and you're able to ask questions. We are getting data back from different districts that have given this assessment at the beginning of the year. And overwhelmingly, for grades kindergarten through second grade, the diagnostic results are coming back skewed. And what that means is they're not coming back as authentic results so that teachers can help students the best. Parents, it's really hard not to help your student when they look at you and say, this is hard. It is hard, but if they answer the best they can, it'll adapt to get even easier. You don't want to help them, just like Ty said, you wouldn't help them with the art exam. You don't want to help them on this because this assessment is used to diagnose exactly where your student needs help. And if a teacher doesn't know that, it makes it more difficult for them to support. Okay, key takeaways. The diagnostic is adapted and it's personalized to your students' learning path. And it provides information to their teachers so that they can meet your students' needs. Help your student create a great testing environment, but don't help them on the assessment. And finally, check the dashboard to see how instruction is going. So when they finally finish the assessment and they're starting to do their online lessons, you want to check in with them from time to time and see how they're doing. Don't forget to where I showed you can get help. That Family Center is a lot. We also have technical support with videos and a guide with information you can use to make sure your child can log into iReady and that they're successful. And you want to check on those things before the assessment begins. Finally, if you need any more help or support, you have 3 great emails here. You have me, Vernita Scott, you have Rosa, and you have Laura. And we put our emails there. We love receiving emails from parents. We love to help. If you try to log in today and you're trying to figure out, oh, I don't know exactly if this is working, feel free to email us. We will get back to you as soon as we get your email and we can. Thank you all for being here. We're going to open up At this time, I'm just going to open the questions box, and I am going to unmute people. So if you want to share your question out loud, feel free. As soon as I figure out how attendees. Okay. Yep. Feel free to share your question out loud or put it in the question box. But if you don't have a question, thank you all for coming. I think there's some questions here. Okay.
Couple of good points, Bernita, good questions that came up, Bernita, is about accommodations. And yes, your teacher will go over accommodations for any learning disabilities or special needs that your student has when taking the test. Kay will be taking the test. Rosa, can you let us know if what dates Kay will be taking the test? Will they be starting later, or will they be starting at the beginning of the year also?
Kinder won't actually start until January.
Excellent. So the kinder parents have a lot of time to watch that video and get really comfortable with the family assessment site and see all of the resources on there. So they've really got an edge on a lot of other people. Yes. So will the program read the questions to the students? Bernita, what grade levels do they read? Does it automatically read?
K1 and 2.
Excellent.
And for kindergarten, it reads very slow. So Cindy, I'm looking at your question. It reads it for them. And for older grades, it doesn't automatically read it for them. But if students begin to answer questions incorrectly, especially in the math program, it begins to read questions for them. Because what we want to assess is that it's the math skill that they might be struggling with rather than a literacy skill. So in kindergarten, everything is read to them. K1 and 2. Is the reading? The reading assessment is in English. I'm not sure, Sue, if we offer the assessment in English and in Spanish. I'm not sure if the Spanish has been enabled for your district. Sue, do you know?
Yeah. The assessment in math is available in reading and, in English and Spanish. At this time, we do not have the reading program in Spanish. That will come at a future date.
Okay. You're welcome. I'm going to go back to the top and see if there are any questions that I might have missed that weren't answered by Sue in the chat.
Lots of great questions from parents. A lot of them are familiar with iReady, that they've taken the test before. So just understand that the test will remember where your student left off last year, and it'll start them right there, and it'll adapt up and down from them. For a TK student, can the parent stay with the student when he takes the test? I don't know that TK is involved in this because we do not make a TK program. A parent is more than welcome to sit by their student, but again, don't answer their questions for them. And I think sometimes when you sit right by them, except for the K and one maybe, it's a slippery slope. They turn around, they look at you with those big eyes and they say, "Mommy, this is hard." So be careful about that. If they're a student that can sit by themselves, I highly encourage you to let them sit by themselves.
Sue, can I interject real quick?
Sure.
I just want to share with parents that teachers will be letting your student know, your child know, when they will be starting the iReady assessment. Not only what day, but what time. Because there's a few things that need to happen first. They need to watch a video. Teachers want to get comfortable with the student on how they're maneuvering in the computer. So don't expect it to start the 8th. It may start later in the week. And you should get all instructions from your teacher on if you'll be doing it at home alone, or will the teacher be doing a live proctoring, which means that the teacher is watching while your child is taking the test. So stay tuned and contact your teacher for detailed information on the administration portion.
Rosa, another great question for you. How will kids access it? Through Clever or iReady directly?
Clever.
Excellent.
And their teacher will walk them through that as well.
Great.
There's a question, will this presentation be made available? Yes, there will be a video. Rosa, is there a parent website to post this video?
Yes, we will be posting it in the district website under distance learning resources.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there are a lot of kindergarten questions. The first question I saw for kindergarten, is this relevant for kindergarten? The answer is definitely. You want to know, even if your student is wherever they're placing, if they're in kindergarten, if they're placing at a high level, or if they're placing even lower, you want to know so we can help in whatever strand they need support in. So even if they're at grade level, because kindergarten is the first grade, I get it, the first time they're coming and trying to take this assessment, but even if they're at kindergarten level, if they have abilities that might put them at a first grade level, you want to know that so your teacher can keep feeding those and enhancing those skills. If they are scoring at or placing a little bit lower in certain domains, you want the teacher to be able to support those domains so that they don't become gaps later. So this is important for kindergartners as well. For TK. All right. Is there anyone that may want to ask their question out loud? I think I've gone through most of the questions, if not all. Oh, is a calculator allowed? Not usually, Alvin, no. The questions for math are specifically written, and if there is a calculator that's needed, whatever tools are needed for math or for reading, they will pop up on the screen for students to be able to use. So they'll have access to a 10 frame if they want to use it. They'll have access to whatever it is that we believe should help the student, but it's not written that they should in a way that they need a calculator.
A question, okay? When will be the last assessments for this academic year?
Rosa, do you know the last window for the third window for assessment 3?
The last window is April. The last window will be starting in April.
The question is, in April, in case of something, if there is not improvement, or maybe my kids or other kids maybe in the same level, not much improvement in last assessment, will it be affected for the final exam in class?
No.
What? I didn't hear the last part.
She was asking in April, when students take the final diagnostic, will that, if they have not shown improvement or if they didn't grow in a certain way, would that affect their final exam grade in the class?
No, it should not. Remember that iReady is used to identify strengths and weaknesses with our students, with your child, not necessarily to give grades. So this is one data point amongst many data points that teachers use to assess where a student is at the end of the year.
Oh, it's clear. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Could you give us the estimate time frame for the first test? So again, for the first test, I think it was answered in the chat, but the window opens for the first assessment on the 8th. It might not mean that your student takes it on the 8th, but that's just when the assessment will be available to them. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I have a quick question. How many days should we, on average, we expect the kids to spend on the reading portion and the math portion of the test?
That's a great question. So when I said 45 to 60 minutes, that was per subject, and I don't think I said that part. So it's per subject, so it should take that amount for math and for reading. The break or chunking of time, the breakdown of time, that really is up to the teacher. It depends on the age group. I would say anywhere from 3 to 4 days on average. Most students can finish it that way. And when we talk to teachers and try to help them with their idea of chunking time for students, the younger the student, the more chunks of time they needed. And so the window is actually open for 21 days. So whether it takes a student 3 days or 20 days, they have the time to finish it in chunks of time.
I see. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is a great question. Cindy asked a question. She said, can students go back and answer something if they answered incorrectly by accident? You cannot go back on this test because it's adaptive. So based on what they answered, it propels the very next question. But Cindy, what I want to say, I know I gave you a really simplified version of how the test works, how get it right, it adapts up, get it wrong, it adapts down. There is a more complex algorithm. It doesn't adapt right away. So it gives students a few questions before it begins to make that change. So if they make a mistake on one question, it's not anything to worry about because they're going to get a couple more questions in that series that'll help the assessment decide whether it should go up or down for that student. But that's a great question. Right, Linda, so the score is provided, and it's not provided immediately for all students. I think K through 2, the score is not given right away. It says something like, congratulations, you're done, and it's like a really celebratory picture. For grades 3 through 8, the number is given right away. But for K2, you still are able to see the score. You just need to go into your child's dashboard, and where it says my progress, the score will be there. When you the detailed report that I showed you on one of the slides, it is available through the teacher. The teacher has a PDF that they can send you, and it shows all that information I showed you on the slide. You're right. You have to get that detailed report from your teacher.
Okay, hi, thank you. Yes, I'm interested in that detailed report because I remember my son getting it last year for kindergarten, and I really liked it, but I know that we couldn't, as parents, access it through his iReady profile. Okay,
Yeah.
so do you know how long, an estimate, is it like a week or two for the younger kids? Because you said K through 3rd, the results aren't immediate.
I'm sorry. All the results are immediate. For K2, it just doesn't show on the screen right away. Do you know what I'm saying? So when students finish the assessment, all of the information is available right away. It's immediate. For grades 3 through 8, when they finish the assessment, it shows you got a 435. Great. Now start your online lessons. For grades K through 2, it's just a cuter picture that says, you just finished the assessment. Hooray. Now start your online lessons. But the scores in that report, it's available immediately. Your teacher has it right away.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. When is the test date approximately for 6th grade? So again, Judy, the window is open, and when I keep saying the window is open, that means on our side for iReady, we've assigned the diagnostic to every student starting on the 8th, except kindergarten. But when your child sits down and takes the test and is proctored to take the test, and what days that will be and during what time, that really is up to your school site. So you have to check in with your teacher. They will let you know. They will let you know. They're probably pulling together those schedules as we speak so they can get them out to you. Yes. So Victor, yes, you should be notified from your school site and specifically from your teacher. I think I heard someone say that they would post on Class Dojo. Is that right, Laura or Rosa? to communicate with parents?
Every teacher is going to do it differently. It has different platforms they'll be using, but it'll be soon, and they'll be aware of it pretty soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, I would say that is the biggest number of questions that we're getting. When do they start? When do they start? When do they start? Each one of your teachers will be letting you know when the assessment will start for your student. They will probably also let you know whether they're starting with math or whether they're starting with reading. But be patient. Those details will be coming directly from your teacher and with any information that you need about Clever.
I have a question. Will the assessments be like the normal kind of test, like the duration? Well, for example, my daughter, she is very slow student. She might take maybe one question for 3 minutes, but she can have ability to answer, and she knows lots of questions. But at the time is for example, the internet assessment, internet online access problem, and then maybe connection will be affected the test.
Yeah, no, there's not a time. So even if she takes a long time to think about a question and put the response, it's fine. The test won't time out or turn off or anything like that. It'll ask a question. It'll say, "Are you still there?" Kind of like you see on Netflix sometimes. But all she has to do is say yes, and she can take her time. It's not a time test. Yeah, and even if the internet cuts her off or somehow puts her out of the test, when she comes back, it'll be at the exact same place. So it'll hold her spot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is this the same requirement? Semi, can you explain your question just a little bit more for me?
Yes, hi. Sorry, I came in and I was thinking about Think Central math questions because my daughter does have the beginning of the year test. So I'm kind of wondering if this is the same. I mean, iReady, I know she's been doing it, and iReady test, she hasn't started that. But is it the same for Think Central math tests? Do you know?
Sue, do you know the answer to that question?
iReady is its own test, so it is not going to be similar to the other tests that you're taking. I don't know what other math tests your teacher would be assigning, but it would be separate from iReady.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure.
You're welcome. Great questions. Are there any other questions? Oh, there's one. Okay.
I think there's a question about dual language classes. Do they get, what language do they get it in? So maybe Rosa, maybe that might be a question for you.
All students are going to take the test in English. Even our dual language schools in English, yes.
Thank you, Alvin. We love answering questions, so makes our day.
Anyone else who wants to ask a quick question before we sign off?
And if you think of anything that comes to your mind, even while you're trying to prepare for your student to take the diagnostic, if you're kind of having trouble with even the Clever and logging in, please take a snapshot of these 3 emails. You can email any one of us. I didn't put Sue's email up there. Next time I will, though. But any of us will be happy to help you. You're welcome, everybody. I hope you have a great week. I hope you're having a great back-to-school start. And I look forward to even more parent meetings sometime during the year.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Stay
Thank you
safe.
so much. So
Thank you,
informative.
Laura. Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you, parents. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Cindy,
Thank you,
yes,
everyone.
the test should be taken during regular class time.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you so much. We're signing off now. Bye-bye. See you at the, for the next